Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to dive into this really fascinating battle that happens pretty much every time you shop, the one between your logical head and your emotional heart. We're going to explore how a customer's real worth isn't just about what they buy, but it's really about how they feel about the brand they're buying from. So let's just get right to it, right? What is a customer really worth to a business? Is it just the total of everything they've ever bought? Well, it turns out the answer is a lot deeper, a lot more complex, and it goes way beyond just a single price tag. It really boils down to this huge shift in thinking. As our source material says, the consumer is your most significant asset, and because of that, they should be managed just like any other financial asset on the books. See, this isn't about one sale, it's about the long-term value. And there's actually a name for this whole concept: customer equity. It's basically the total potential profit a company expects to make from all its customers over their entire relationship. In a way, it's a peek into the company's future cash flow, all tied up in the relationships it manages to build. So here's the game plan for today. First, we're going to really lock in this idea of a customer as an asset. Then, we'll break down the three big pillars of customer equity: the logic of value, the feeling of brand, and the strength of the relationship. We'll even get into how you can actually measure those feelings. And finally, we'll see why that subjective, gut feeling side of things is so incredibly important. So let's really nail this down. That customer relationship, it's one of the most valuable things a company has. Even if you can't see it on a balance sheet, it's the engine, really, that's going to drive all the future profits, turning these one-off purchases into a steady, predictable income stream. Okay, so let's start building this out with our first pillar. This is called value equity. And a good way to think about it is that it's the rational, logical calculation that's happening inside a customer's head. It's all about the objective side of making a decision. So what exactly is value equity? Well, our sources call it the customer's unbiased opinion of what a company offers. It's all driven by a pretty logical assessment of what they have to give up. Money, time, effort, versus what they get in return. We're talking price, quality, and convenience. It's that classic pros and cons list we all make. But come on, we all know we don't make decisions with just our heads, right? And that brings us to the second, and I'd argue the more powerful pillar: brand equity. This is where all those subjective, emotional gut checks that happen in a customer's heart come into play. And this table just lays it out so perfectly, doesn't it? Value equity, the head, is asking, okay, what is this product actually worth? But brand equity, that's the heart. It's asking, what is the brand name itself worth? It's that extra value, the stuff you can't quite touch, that gets added by the brand, and it's based entirely on how a customer feels about its reputation, its vibe, and even its ethics. So what actually builds that feeling? Well, it breaks down into these three key drivers. First, are people even aware the brand exists? Second, what kind of space does it occupy in their minds? And third, what do they think about its ethics? These are the ingredients that create that really important emotional connection. And that brings us to the third piece of the puzzle: relationship equity. This is all about how customer feels about their ongoing connection with a business. It's a thing that keeps them coming back long after that first purchase, and it makes that subjective loyalty even deeper. So how do you build that bond? Well, you've probably seen these things in action. It's things like loyalty programs and getting special treatment, but it's also about affinity programs and things that create an emotional connection. All of these are designed specifically to make you, the customer, feel seen and valued. And that has a huge impact on how long you're going to stick around. Okay, so this begs a huge question, right? If so much of a customer's value is based on these subjective feelings and personal opinions, how in the world can a business actually measure it? How do you put a number on a feeling? And believe it or not, the answer is a resounding yes. Businesses have gotten really smart about this. They have tools that can quantify these things that seem, well, unquantifiable. They can take all that rich feedback from customers, the good, the bad, the emotional, and turn it into solid data they can actually work with. And they do this using customer success metrics like these. You've got CSAT, which is just the customer satisfaction score. Then there's NPS, the Net Promoter Score. That's the how likely are you to recommend us question. And CES, the customer effort score. They're all just different ways to measure satisfaction and figure out how to build stronger, more positive connections. And you can even get a little more granular here, which is pretty cool. See, satisfaction isn't just one thing. There's cognitive satisfaction, that's the logical part, your judgment about how useful something was. And then there's affective satisfaction. That's the emotional gut check, whether you simply like or dislike it. You really need to measure both. All right, let's tie all of this together. Why have we spent so much time talking about feelings and the subjective side of things? Well, because when you get right down to it, that's the most powerful force driving a company's long-term success. I mean, this quote from one of our sources just nails it. Brand equity is the value that exists exclusively because of the brand name. It's totally separate from the physical product itself. It is a feeling that has real bottom-line financial worth. And this is where the rubber meets the road. This is the payoff. Customers who are loyal because of their attitude, their feeling about your brand, they are your greatest asset. They're less likely to be swayed by a bad review, and they provide a much more stable, predictable stream of revenue. That emotional bond translates directly into financial stability. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Picture your absolute favorite brand, the one you'll go out of your way for. Now be honest with yourself. Is that loyalty a cold, hard calculation based on logic? Or is it really just a feeling?